Good evening and welcome to the June 17th, 2025 Mathews County School Board regular scheduled meeting. Would everyone please?
You have to close out the other one.
Excuse me. Thank you, Ms. Morgan. I don't have a, it's struggling. It's just, let me see if I can get it. Oh. I think it's, now it's finally here, just because you walked over. Yes, thank you. I think we're good. Nope. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Yeah, and then mine's almost there, but, all right. We'll reconvene to open meeting. Item 2.3, we'd like to have a roll call vote for declaration of subjects discussed in closed meeting.
I make a motion to adopt the certificate of closed meeting as written.
Thank you for the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Morgan, maybe we have a roll call vote.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Ms. Diggs?
Here.
Mrs. Hodges?
Yes.
And Dr. Gill?
Yes. Item 2.4, may I have a motion to approve the personnel as listed?
I move that we approve the personnel matters as listed.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now we'd like to call to order the June 17th, 2025 Mathews County School Board monthly meeting. Would everyone please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1.3, roll call, please.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Morgan?
Present.
Ms. Diggs?
Here.
Mrs. Hodges?
Here.
And Dr. Gill?
Present. Item 1.4, approval of the agenda, additions and deletions. May I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as listed.
Thank you, Ms. Diggs. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 1.5, our consent agenda. May I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of May 20th, 2025 closed meeting, May 20th, 2025 regular monthly meeting, approval of requests for use of school bus and driver from Mathews Memorial Library, approval of requests for use of 2 school buses and drivers for Mathews Volunteer Fire Department for Mathews Fireworks Event and East River Boat Fest, approval of revised meeting location for June 30th, 2025, end-of-year special meeting. July 15th, 2025, regular monthly meeting preceded by closed meeting. Approval of 2025-2026 Title I program application. Approval of 2025-2026 Title III statewide consortium application. Approval of 2025-2026 local consolidated application. Approval of 2025-2026 pay schedule and monthly claims as presented on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mrs. Hodges. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And please note, we have all of our months for claims to be reviewed are completed. July 14th will be myself, August being Mr. Morgan. Item 1.6, the Mathews County School Board Governance Norms and Protocols. Every month, we read a couple of these items, and I believe we are up to Mr. Morgan.
Could be. Okay. We will stay focused on our work as a school board and not interrupt the day-to-day operations of the school system, which is the responsibility of the superintendent. We will maintain open communication with each other, the administration, and the community at large. Information shared with one board member will be shared with all board members. If considerable work, more than 2 hours, is required to generate data, the full board must endorse the request at a meeting of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Moving on to item 2 is our presentation of retirement awards by myself and Dr. Daniel. This is very exciting.
I guess I should probably give some directions as before I get up and start shaking hands and providing plaques. So what I'll do is I'll kind of call out the retirees who are in attendance this evening, and family members if you all want to grab some pictures, and then we'll ask for kind of a group picture of all the retirees who are in attendance tonight. Kind of stay up. Okay. All right. So our first retiree has been working, and I overheard some of the conversation. So I won't say how young she was when she started working in Mathews. But our first retiree is Miss Amy Hudgens, who's held a variety of roles within our division, but most recently has been our math specialist at the elementary school, working with our teachers and working with our kids to improve math and math literacy. So congratulations and thank you. What I would say is probably one of the most difficult jobs in the school division is to drive a bus. And to drive a bus for 35 years is an amazing commitment to your community, a commitment to the children in this community, making sure that they are getting from their homes and to school and back home again safely is just the foundational, again, commitment to our education system and to our community in Mathews. So, Ms. Davis, if you would come on up. There are a couple jobs in a school division that require just a ton of work ethic. The job completely changes from day to day and week and hour to hour. And what we ask of our custodians on a daily basis and a weekly basis is a tremendous amount of work. They make sure that every classroom is ready for kids when they come in the door. They're working with our teachers to make sure their classrooms are set up and clean. have to be the custodian at a high school. You're in charge of a ton of things. It's not just its classrooms, but it's bleachers and sporting events. It's late nights. It's coordinating the efforts of the social calendar of the high school. It's athletic events. It's being a part of instruction. It's being a part of health and safety of our teachers and the children who walk through our doors every day. So I want to thank Mr. Rudy for his 25 years of service to our school board. And tonight, last but not least, if you have spent any time in an elementary school and you walk by the office, typically the clinic is never far from the office. There are probably 3 jobs in the school division that I want no part of. One is driving a bus, one is working in the cafeteria, and the third is being the nurse in an elementary school, high school, or middle school. It is, you're dealing with sick kids, kids who want to be sick but haven't quite gotten there, dealing with kids who are just trying to get out of class, and it's your job to separate what's fact and what's fiction, do the best you can with the tools and the equipment that you have at your disposal. But it is an important lifeline for our families to know that we have that service within our schools and can assist our students on so many different levels. So I want to congratulate Ms. Owens for her 8 years. Can we get all of our retired?
Wait a minute,
Hang
hold
on.
on.
Hold your plaque the other way, Catherine.
Turn the other way, girl. You want to turn it this way? We won't tell anybody, it'll just be on video.
Thank you.
All right, can I ask all of our retirees to come up and if we could get a picture? Turn it the right way. Everybody make sure that the flags are facing out. I don't know what's, Charlie, do you have great advice for us on where we should go?
Oh, does she?
Do you need me to move? No, I'm the opposite, please.
Okay. Everybody else, everybody in the gallery? Oh, you need me?
There you go.
All right, yes,
All
ma'am.
right. Perfect, thank you.
Okay. And just real quick, some other staff members who were not able to attend this evening. Miss Patricia Lewis is retiring as nurse from the high school after 5 years. So again, we thank her
She
for.
had a slip and fall, didn't you?
Mr. Amos Hakes, again, one of our custodians at the elementary school for 7 years of his service to the elementary school and the kids and the faculty and staff at the elementary school, but Mr. Amos could not. And Miss Dolores Bloomfield, otherwise known as D-Lo. D-Lo's retiring again. She retired and then we kind of coached her to come back out of retirement for 1 more year to work with us. But Miss Bloomfield for her 28 years of service in
Nice. That was wonderful. And then we have another wonderful moment with item 3 in student recognitions. Spring sports with Mrs. Amy O'Neill. Coach?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So I wanted to let you know what we've done this spring. It's been a very, 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 very busy spring with all the rain and reschedules and whatnot. We had 3 new coaches this spring, and they did a wonderful job. We actually, our record was 11-7. Our new coaches hit the ground running. They did fundraising. They got everything they needed to get going. We hosted our regional quarterfinal for the first time in who knows how long. So that was really exciting for the boys too. We have very many honors this spring for all district, all region, and we do have an all state actually also. So if you'll look at this, we have 3 on first team, 4 on second team. I'm not going to call out all the names, but we are extremely proud. They deserve this, and getting Mathews back on the map, so we're very proud. All region honors we had, which is really cool because it's been a while, so we're just really happy that they received these honors. Our seniors, we're going to miss them. Christian Blue, Jordan Cosby, Trey Green, Justin Jones. Cameron, I put 2 R's in your name. Cameron Mathews and Colin Moore. We're definitely going to miss these guys. I personally am going to miss them because I just love every single one of them, and they hang out in my office all the time, so I'm going to miss that a lot. Our crew team, we were small but mighty. We ended up having 3 this year. Head coach Tim Alsaker, assistant coach Caitlin Scheck. We want to thank them very much for everything they've done this season. And although we were small, we medaled, we placed second in states, which is really cool. They also went to Stotesbury, which is the biggest high school event for crew, and so it was a really good experience for them also. We had Sydney, who placed 4th in state, so very, very cool. Let's see. Our outdoor track and field team is phenomenal. Again, want to appreciate Tony Forrest and Russell Reed for doing everything they've done. Again, I'm going to say this every single time. We have a couple state champions which could not be here tonight, but I'm going to acknowledge them with the facilities that we have. Imagine what we could do if we had better facilities. And I'll keep saying that. They've done really, really well without having what they've needed. So I'm very proud of them. I would like to acknowledge Donovan Forrest for being a 3-peat on state champion. He Donovan, I don't know if you saw any pictures on Facebook, but Donovan won by a landslide. I mean, they weren't even close. So when Donovan has been, actually, thank you, Dr. Gibbs and Ms. Hodges, for being at our signing the other night. It was a very nice night. He has signed with Virginia State. Extremely proud of him. And I feel like he hasn't had anyone to push him in the district, the region, or the state. So when he gets to college, I have a feeling he's going to do even more spectacular. Mm-hmm. So I think he's going to do a wonderful job. So we had a lot of district honors. Again, we have a great track team. They work really hard. Region honors, just as many. And here's our state finishers. We had fourth, fifth, and first, fourth, and fifth place. We had girls in 4th and 5th, and that's pretty impressive for our small little school. State champion again. Here you go. There's the picture.
That's it. Yes,
that was
great picture. Yeah.
I was lucky enough to be right there and take that picture because it was amazing. And again, once he has someone to actually push him, he's going to be faster and better. So I'm real proud of him. Here is Gavin Dustin. I have a little story about Gavin. Gavin was very, very nervous 2 hours before his race. He was pacing. He was like, Miss O'Neill, I'm so nervous. And I said, well, Gavin, have you done everything that you can to prepare for this? And he said, yes, I think so. I said, well, just have the confidence and knowing that you're prepared and go do it. And the funny thing is, when I go to track meets, because they're extremely long, and I used to be a track athlete, so I know this, I usually don't stay for Gavin's race. And he's like, Miss O'Neill, you better stay for my race. So I stayed, and I was really glad I did. So he was a state champion. He won first place, so I'm very proud of him.
Oh,
Here are our seniors. Congratulations to them. Gavin Dustin, Donovan Forrest, Seth James, and Jarrell Johnson.
right.
Senior girls, Bailey Bell and Lorena Carballo. We have our JV, as you know, our JV teams, we don't keep records and things like that, but I'm very proud of our JV teams because they are building the future. So we have some excellent coaches that teach fundamentals and teach the right ways of doing things so they're prepared for the varsity level. And I want to thank Andre Smith, our coach for JV soccer. He did a wonderful job this season. Here's some pictures of our crew. And our soccer, our boys team did tremendously well. We were 11-3-1 this year, which is so far our best season yet. Look out for next year because we lost one senior, Seth James. Congratulations to him. But we have a full team coming back. They are really great. So we expect to even see better next year. And thank you to Craig, Trey, and Justin as coaches for that as well. And here are the honors for our team, district, region, and we had a, wait a minute, hold on. Oh, first team all region for Sal. Yeah, that was great. And our senior, Seth James. Soccer girls. The girls soccer team is a little different because Region A and Region B, we really don't have enough teams to have our own region competition, so we do a super region. It's a little different, it's a little confusing, but so we lost in our regional game, but we were able to go to the state quarterfinal. So that was a little different, but it was really cool that they got another opportunity. They have improved tremendously, and this is the best record they've had. This is the third year they've been in existence, but they keep getting better and better, and that goes to Mike Congrove and Chris Burney for putting everything into it that they have. We got, I mean, for a team that's only been in existence for 3 years, this is pretty impressive to get first team and second team honors. So very proud of them as well, and region honors. Lauren in particular, I wish I could tell you how many goals she scored, but I'll tell you in one game she scored 7 out of the 8 goals that we had. So look for her. She's just a sophomore, so we have a bright future. And the rest of the girls are fabulous too. And our seniors, Bailey Bell, Kristen Blake, Lorena Carballo, Shaylin Conroe, Haley Dinkinger, Kat Murphy, Kaylee Russell, and Suki Jen. JV softball. I want to thank Tim Tillage and Ashley Hubbard this year. They took on a lot because unfortunately, and we've talked about this, kind of got thrown into it because by the time we got them situated and vetted and ready to go, we had the first game, and it was like go, 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 go. And so they hung in there with no direction, and they did such a great job, and the girls really had a great experience, and they improved every time too. So they are definitely two wonderful coaches who definitely teach fundamentals, and that's important for going to the varsity level, because the worst thing you want as a coach, as a varsity coach, and I've been there, is to have to teach 11th grader how to play. So to have a strong JV program means your varsity program is going to be even better. And here's some pictures with them as well. Our varsity team, thank you to JJ Ashbury, Gilbert Coons, and Melina Hester. We had district honors. Angel is a senior. She did a great job as pitcher. Bentley is a freshman. So Bentley is a great athlete. We're going to see some good things from her in the future. Seniors Lindsay Coons and Angel Schultz. And our tennis, thank you to John Hatch. Our tennis team does a wonderful job every year. We were 1A regional runner-up. We won the state quarterfinals against William Campbell High School, and that was really, really great because it felt like it was 150 degrees there. It was close to Lynchburg, no shade anywhere. And I know that they were hot and tired and just exhausted. And they won to advance to the state semifinals at RAP. Unfortunately, RAP is a beast, and they won state, so we lost to the state champions for the third, they are state champions for the third time. So that's a big accomplishment. Seniors Liberty Carter and Marissa Hudgens. And we have a male athlete of the year and a female athlete of the year. Donovan, our three-peat state champion, was our athlete of the year this year. And Lorena Carballo. So we're very, very proud of them. Again, we're always grateful to our booster club who helps us, supports us, and they're just hardworking people, and I appreciate them very much. And it's been a great year. Thank you. What's that?
Can you bring me the clicker?
Yeah. All right.
Coach, I just want to say, specifically, the students are amazing, the coaches are wonderful, but your leadership is stellar. Thank you so much for all you give to our school division. You are amazing. All right, moving on to item 4. Dr. Daniel will present the VALS data, and of course this is very important, wonderful information on student achievement and supportive of our strategic plan.
So just a brief reminder, VALS is replacing the former PALS data or reading screening tool that's used in grades K through 3. So the VALS better aligns with Virginia Literacy Act and much of the initiatives coming down from the state and through the Department of Education regarding literacy instruction in Virginia. So the VALS, again, were administered for the first time this fall. They had been piloted in other divisions across the state, but this was the first year for administration of this much more rigorous assessment for our students. So if you look at the columns, and let me, I guess, explain a little bit too. So high risk versus low risk. So it's students who are categorized in that area are at a high risk for developing reading difficulties as they move forward. Low risk is a higher performance or higher achieving, but meaning they're at a lower risk for developing reading difficulties. So what we want is to see from the fall to the spring a movement from high risk to low risk. So we want to see, ideally we would love to have a ton of students who are in a small amount of students in the high risk category. And all of our students score in the low risk from the beginning, but that's not where we are. So at the beginning of the year within kindergarten especially, you can see that about 60% of our kindergarten students, or 24 out of 40, were assessed to be in the high risk category. Through the hard work and dedication of our kindergarten teachers, the reading specialists, the support staff, the TAs, everybody involved at that grade level, that 60% was reduced down to 35%. And if you go across that column, in the fall, we only had 12.5% or 5 students who were in that low risk category. But at our spring assessment, that number had increased to 14 students, had increased to 37.84% of our students now in that low risk category. So if it's green, it's good. So as we're looking for a reduction in students in the high risk category, we want to see an increase in students in the low risk. I keep saying that, it's hard, it's kind of mind bending a little bit, but we want to see more students in the low risk category. So almost universally across the board, we see the work of our teachers and staff and TAs and as administrators paying dividends as we're able to kind of reduce the high-risk category and increase the low-risk category areas. It's often kind of difficult to tell unless you get into per student and look at very granularly to determine in that moderate risk category. But looking at the numbers, you're seeing students coming from that high moving into the moderate. Some of the moderate students are then moving into the low risk category area. So all of those trends are really going in the right direction. And we probably could have put the third grade spring moderate risk in green, but we would need to take a look at the individual students to determine if kind of the same percentage, that 22% is, my guess is probably different students, as we have students coming out of that high risk moving into moderate, but we had an equal number of students moving out of moderate and going into low. So they're not all the numbers that we want to see. However, what the trends are pointing in the right direction, the efforts are beginning to pay off. But teaching students to read doesn't happen by happenstance. It's not always an easy thing. It requires a school and home and community partnership in order to make sure that our students are reading at grade level and doing so as early as possible. So I'm pretty optimistic on our VAL scores. And again, our teachers are also working on implementing the Virginia Literacy Act, which is new to school divisions this year. So our parents in the audience who have children in grades K through 5 will know the differences that occurred with reading textbooks and the rigor that was expected of our students in those primary grades this year. So all that, the work is paying off from top to bottom from kids across the board. Any questions from the board members on the data?
Going in the right direction.
Going in the right direction. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Daniel.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 5, we have the SEAC report from Mrs. Kelly Lockerbie.
Thank you. Okay, y'all bear with me because I'm not a professional, I'm just a mom here, so I've never done a PowerPoint, so. Okay, so I just wanted to do a quick just introduction to special education advisory committees. Okay. What is the SEAC? The Special Education Advisory Committee has a long history. Every school division is required to have a SEAC as detailed in regulations governing special education programs for children with disabilities in Virginia, effective January 25th, 2010. The major purpose of SEAC is to provide an opportunity for parents to have a voice in the way that school divisions provide services to students with disabilities. SEACs are extensions of local school boards since members are appointed by them, and SEACs should be given the opportunity to provide reports and recommendations to their school boards. The special education regulations pertaining to local SEACs are 8 VAC 20-81-230D, and they state that a local advisory committee for special education appointed by each local school board shall advise the school board through the division superintendent. SEAC membership requirements are: a majority of the committee shall be parents of children with disabilities or individuals with disabilities. The committee shall include one teacher. Additional local school division personnel shall serve only as consultants to the committee, meaning that they do not get to vote. Functional duties of the SEAC committee. They advise the local school divisions of needs in education of children with disabilities, participate in the development of priorities and strategies for meeting the needs of students with disabilities. They submit periodic reports and recommendations regarding the education of children with disabilities to the division superintendent for transmission to the school board. They review policies and procedures for the provision of special education and related services prior to submission to the local school board and participate in review of the local school division's annual plan. SEAC notices and meetings. Public notices shall be made to inform the date and time and location of the meetings. Committee meetings shall be held at least 4 times in a school year and shall be open to the public. We also have a state special education advisory committee. The state SEAC is organized and functions in accordance with state and federal requirements. They define plans for identifying children with disabilities. They develop long-range plans that will provide services for children with disabilities, determine unmet needs of children with disabilities within the state, develop priorities and strategies for meeting identified needs of children with disabilities, and they review the state improvement plan and any regulations proposed by the state regarding the education of children with disabilities. They review findings and decisions regarding due process procedures for parents and children, and they advise the state in developing corrective plans to address findings identified in federal monitoring reports and prepare and submit an annual report to the Virginia Board of Education. And we present that to the General Assembly annually. The state SEAC is composed of representatives of stakeholders and groups prescribed by IDEA. A majority of the members must be individuals with disabilities or parents of children with disabilities eligible to receive services under IDEA. Members are appointed by the Virginia Board of Education. State SEAC organization. The activities of the state SEAC are governed by the Board of Education bylaws. The state SEAC runs year from July 1st to June 30th. Several subcommittees are established to help conduct the work of the committee. Members are assigned to a subcommittee, and a member of the executive committee chairs each subcommittee. I myself have been on the state SEAC for years, and I am currently the chair of the Student Outcome and Achievements. The state SEAC meeting schedule is the same as locals. You have to have it 4 times a year. It meets in regular sessions 4 times a year, and each session generally consists of 3 days. We go in on Wednesday, we come out on Friday. Meetings are held in Richmond. They are open to the public, and each regular meeting includes a public comment section. So, why is this all important? It's because it is the law. The most important law for this process is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, commonly known as IDEA. IDEA is the nation's special education law. It gives rights and protections to students with disabilities. IDEA is the federal law that ensures students with disabilities receive FAPE. That is a free and appropriate public education. The tool that drives that is called an IEP. Individualized education programs, IEPs. Individualized education programs are vital tools designed to ensure that students with disabilities receive the appropriate education services and accommodations they need to succeed in school. IEPs are comprehensive documents developed for students with disabilities who require special education services. IEPs are not mere suggestions. They are legally binding agreements that schools must follow under the Individuals with Disabilities Act. Summary. Special education advisory committees and the laws are crucial for ensuring equal opportunities, inclusion, protecting rights, providing necessary support for students with disabilities to succeed. One final thought. Our job is to teach the kids we have, Not the ones we used to have, not the ones we wish we had, but the ones we have right now, and all of them. Thank you.
Mrs. Lockerbie? Mrs. Lockerbie? Yes. Me?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I want to thank you for your presentation. I also want to thank you for your participation in the strategic plan work session that we had last summer. And also, you know, you're a nonstop vocal advocate for special education and children with special needs, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. All right, we're moving on now to number 6. Item 6, citizens' questions, comments, or requests. Comments not pertaining to personnel or student matters. Protocol for public comment period. Citizens wishing to speak should sign up with their name and address on the sheet provided. Each individual will have 3 minutes to speak. All comments should be directed to the school board. Speakers shall not address matters involving students or personnel, as these topics may violate confidentiality and are not appropriate in a public forum. Public comment is the school board's opportunity to listen to the speaker. Since our purpose is to hear from you, the board will not engage in dialogue with the audience or whomever is at the podium. Matters requiring a response will be directed to the superintendent for research and response. The superintendent may report back on such matters at a subsequent business meeting session as appropriate. The school board carefully considers your comments when deciding on matters brought before us. We appreciate your attendance and your input. I do not have a sheet with any names there. No one has signed up. Is there anyone who would wish to speak at this time for citizen comment? There being none, we will move on to item 7 for the superintendent's informational reports, beginning with the THMS update.
All right, thank you, Dr. Gibbs. So a little bit on the timeline and background regarding the Thomas Hunter abatement process that is currently ongoing. So a lot of the momentum for this abatement process really picked up steam during our legislative tour in November of 2024. We were able to have several representatives from legislators across the state. In particular, an aide from Senator McDougal's office attended. At the end of that tour, that aide, Joseph White, submitted a report to Senator McDougal. But I need to really give credit to Ms. Hodges and Dr. Gibbs for really pushing the need for asbestos abatement at Thomas Hunter and really focusing on the health and the climate within that school, and getting the funding to have those needs addressed. So the aide, Joseph White, kind of really took that to heart, advocated on Mathews's behalf to Senator McDougal's office. Senator McDougal was then able to push that funding through the General Assembly. So we had a couple meetings, phone calls back and forth with Senator McDougal's office during the budget process, remaining in contact and working with his office on estimates and numbers. So ultimately that funding came through directly from the state. Another piece, I think there are some questions out there because we've had debates, or there have been debates within the community about that are related to a declining student enrollment and the merits behind renovation versus a rebuild or a demolition. So during our spring break, there was a facility walkthrough with me, Dr. Gibbs, Tim Tillage from the county. There were representatives from an architectural and engineering firm. Some members, invite was sent to the county as well. I think there were some scheduling conflicts, so Mr. Tillage ended up being the lone county representative on that. But we spent about three to 4 hours walking through the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school, looking at various aspects, going into classrooms, crawling up into, well, I didn't, but the representative from the architectural and engineering firm crawled up into the ceilings to look at roof structures, walking around the outside, looking at foundations, looking at seals around windows and cracks in the mortar and stuff along those stuff that, like, just, if you do that for a living, you know what to look for. And so at the end of that walkthrough, their assessment, it was an informal assessment. They were doing it for free. So if we wanted to drop several $1,000s, they would have put it on paper, but they were willing to come and donate their time. But their assessment was that we basically had good bones, especially Thomas Hunter had good bones that we could renovate from. There weren't foundation issues. There weren't existing significant roof issues. There's some electrical work that needs to happen, but I think we already knew that. So their cost estimate for renovation was about a third of what it would be for a new construction. So we have a legislative tour that ends up resulting in money for abatement that we can use to abate, but also replace with new modern materials. We have an assessment that says the school has good bones, it's worth rehabbing. Partnering with the county, air quality testing revealed no airborne asbestos concerns in Thomas Hunter. Additional testing also showed there were no mold concerns at any of the 3 schools. So then in mid-May, we received notification that the state budget did include $1 million in funding to remove the asbestos from Thomas Hunter Middle School. Our initial scope of work proposal really had us looking at abatement next summer. That timeline got accelerated, I guess is the right word, as we had an abatement company who was in the community having conversations with the county about some county abatement projects. So conversations with them, they were able to make the scheduling happen for us. There's an existing state contract that we were able to utilize to contract the work. And so we did a walkthrough, a couple actually walkthroughs with them to assess, create a timeline, and then work to figure out what needed to happen, what things we needed to move in order for abatement to happen really the first day after kids were gone. We adjusted that timeline a little bit. I think our initial attempt was to get the whole school done this summer. I think cooler heads probably prevailed, and we backed off of that timeline a little bit to make sure that what we could get done, we could do well and make sure that schools started on time and without a ton of chaos. So the chaos did ensue with having to move basically empty down to every item in the classrooms in one half of Thomas Hunter, move all of that either to a dumpster if it was beat up and nasty and broken, or it had to be broke up to get out of the classrooms, or if we could save it, reuse it, it was moved, it was tagged, labeled, and moved to the gym. As the asbestos company is working through the half of Thomas Hunter, there is an on-site monitoring company, so there's a third part of the regulations require a third-party monitoring. So there's the air quality testing that is occurring outside where the specific demo sites are taking place. So they're monitoring for the safety of anyone who may happen to be around. So what is being abated this summer is what is the current 7th grade hallway, the art classroom, band, family, consumer science, health, IT, the clinic, the former 5th grade classrooms, and the former 7th grade classrooms. So we're starting kind of on the wing, the hallway, that's the art room, moving up that hallway to the gym. Kind of in the foyer on the back side of the gym, we're going to hang a left going towards the main office, do that main hallway, and then in front of the main office, we're going to hang a left and go down that hallway, doing the hallways and the spaces, classrooms, conference rooms, et cetera, getting those done. That plan changed a little bit. Initially, we were going to go the opposite direction, but we decided to kind of go in this direction. So it includes the main hallways and the grade level hallways. Next summer, we'll do the gym over and do the other classrooms and the other spaces next summer. What we're able to use the money for are any costs associated with abatement. So we're pulling up 1950s floor tile, and we were able to replace that with new floor tile as part of this project. Classrooms are being painted, hallways are being painted, and so when we have students coming back into Thomas Hunter, they'll come back into freshly painted with new floor tiles, classrooms. In many cases, I'm going to have to replace chalkboards with new whiteboards because there's asbestos glue behind those original chalkboards and bulletin boards. So they're going through with a fine-tooth comb. They're testing and double testing and making sure we're really trying to get it all at this point. So each phase is about, each section of the phase is about 2 weeks. So we'll have painting and flooring coming in after the abatement finishes as they move through from one section to another. They have to let the rooms, I guess, cure a little bit. Some of the solvents and stuff they have to put down to get the glue, the asbestos glue up and out, needs time to kind of ventilate, aerate. And then after that, then painters will come in and then flooring crews will come in and put down new flooring. So why, I talked a little bit about the why. Basically, it boiled down to that building has good bones. There are no foundation or roofing issues. I talked about the cost. We're about a third of what it would cost to build new. And then this money combined with money that's earmarked for energy audit and upgrades, like we are going to be able to do an awful lot for a lot less money by preserving a resource within the county. So we'll be able to keep that building in existence, usable, functional within the county. And to touch a little bit on the student capacity issue, so while our enrollment has declined, we're still going to need to occupy Thomas Hunter Middle School for at least 2 grade levels. Our work is, as student achievement increases and our facilities improve, I'm quite optimistic that our student enrollment is going to turn around and return to an increasing student enrollment. And by focusing on renovating and doing the preventative maintenance at Thomas Hunter, but at our other schools, it allows us flexibility for either relocating our school board office to the front of Thomas Hunter and making that the home of the hub of Mathews County Public Schools. But it also allows us flexibility should the enrollment turn around and increase. We can very easily redeploy those spaces for classrooms down the road. So it seemed like a pretty good idea to go ahead and get the abatement out of there. And even like one of the other pieces is if you demo a building and it's known to have asbestos, you're still going to have to spend money for abatement. The cost is much reduced if you're not going to re-inhabit that space, but there's still an abatement cost that comes even with demolition. So, but that's a little bit on the Thomas Hunter. Are there any questions from the board regarding the abatement process?
I have a question about the 2-year process.
Mm-hmm.
So in the plans for next year, let me take a step back. I guess I was under the assumption that what was going to be addressed this summer was where the asbestos was primarily. but should I now assume that asbestos is in that part that will be addressed next summer as well?
That's correct.
Okay.
So part of the AHERA report and part of our walkthrough and other samples indicated that there is asbestos. The oldest part of the building that we're addressing right now is the part of the building that has definitively 9-inch floor tiles, which are known asbestos-containing materials. In addition to that, the glue below that floor tile contains asbestos.
Right.
In the newer parts of the building, where 12-inch tiles have been laid, in some cases there is asbestos glue that it was used, or they didn't pull the asbestos glue completely off when they replaced the 9-inch tiles with 12-inch tiles.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to go back, remove the 12-inch tiles, and then the asbestos-containing glue or mastic glue under those floor tiles as well. So there was a concern about ceiling tiles in some parts of the building. So if you look above us, though, this is a drop ceiling. There was concern that in some parts of the building, the drop ceiling tiles contained asbestos. So we took samples of those tiles and had those tested immediately. Those tiles came back negative for asbestos. There's also a concern in some of the classrooms that don't have the drop ceiling, but have kind of a fiberglass deck kind of ceiling. But there is a popcorn type substance that has been sprayed on that. So we're going to have samples taken of that popcorn sort of spray on texturing material to make sure that that does not have asbestos. If it does, then we'll scrape all that off and abate that material as well.
And the popcorn ceiling is in the part that's being addressed now or next?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
It's in this
phase.
summer's work, yes. Yes.
So the next question has to do with this money that's been earmarked. I guess I was under the impression, whether I just assumed it or there was said somewhere that we needed to use this up by next, so it's there for as long as it takes. Okay.
So the money, the money has been allocated to Mathews County for the abatement of asbestos at Thomas Hunter. So that money has already been dropped to us. There is not, as part of the legislation, there is not, or the funding amendment, there's not a deadline on having to expend it. There's not a timeline. My expediency was, I didn't want to wait any longer. We've kind of, we've delayed work in the buildings long enough. We'd had ongoing conversations about the health and safety, especially of Thomas Hunter. There was a window for us to get the work done. And so, in cooperation with some folks from the county and a very willing contractor and working on schedules, I jumped on it to make it happen. And so I would be remiss without thanking the staff, the custodial staff, and the teachers at Thomas Hunter and everybody for really just rolling up their sleeves and filling boxes and making it happen, to just accept the challenge and be flexible and willing to do it and make it happen. So it took an Army's effort to get it to work, and so Tim Tillage and the county were especially helpful in running and getting some materials for us, and boxes especially, and just working with other folks to get it moving.
I have one final question, and it has to do with if the school board office does move there, how much additional renovation might be required to make that habitable for the school board office, or make it lend itself to what the school board office needs versus classrooms?
Honestly, I don't really know.
Okay.
So we've put out an RFP for a term contract with an architectural and engineering firm that closes, I think, Thursday. So part of that, the thinking behind putting out an RFP for the term contract is to be able to consult with a firm to provide us some guidance on a facility study and how we could either enhance facilities, modify facilities. We can we can author that, request that study to look at various things, one of which could be, hey, if we move this, if we want this to be a school board office, what would we need to do? Like, I would imagine a typical classroom is larger than what an office needs to be. So are there some ways to bring in sheetrock walls or temporary kind of wall spacing or things along those lines? But part of as we're replacing things, so I mentioned before that we're pulling off chalkboards because there's asbestos glue behind those chalkboards. So where we know classrooms aren't going back into immediately, we're not replacing those chalkboards with whiteboards and equipping those classrooms or those spaces as we would if they were going to be utilized as a classroom in the near future.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on what are you looking at that you don't already have? Are you looking at anything?
I mean, what do you, in terms of asbestos-containing
No,
materials?
I'm
or
talking about setting up your school board office in the school itself.
in terms of what I would look for, and I think ideally the school board office being under one roof. So all of our directors and assistant superintendent and kind of everything with kind of that division level being under the same roof is going to improve efficiency and communication. So right now we're kind of spread across different buildings and different parts of the school division. So having us in theory, or having us in practice on one hallway is going to facilitate getting questions answered and being able to better collaborate. In terms of like usable spaces, I think, one immediate thing is having a conference room and kind of a workroom where we can map out and plan and do a little better job of planning both the work and then the communication about the work. And then, I think just usable office space. And I think that by being under the same space, we may be able to share some staff and responsibilities and find some efficiencies in that way.
Would you want a media room or something?
I mean, I think we could take a look at like how we would operate with the Brooks multipurpose room, and can that be set up in a certain way? We have a fantastic library in that middle school space. Would it make any sense to have, our board meetings there? I would probably lean towards Brooks and keeping the meetings in Brooks. But I think we would also want to look at some safety and security upgrades in that building. Just kind of when we have meetings in the buildings, we don't have facilities that lend themselves well to securing movement. Charlie, don't give anybody ideas in the press, please. But I mean, I think we can do a better job with being able to lock down access to buildings when we have a public. The metal fences become issues with fire egress, and so you need to have kind of panic bars on doors. So it's the same idea, but just a little different hardware in order to make that work.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you want to shut down some of the hallways, you just pull them across.
Yeah, but I think the fire marshals don't really like the old school sort of fencing that you pull across and gate, and so because you want to have that panic bar where you can get out in case there's some sort of emergency, and if you're kind of chained in, you're stuck. So yeah, that's why they require other stuff. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Daniels, what they are doing this summer right now at Thompson Middle School, do they and you anticipate this going through the summer to the beginning of the school year or not?
I think if anything continues into the school year, it may be the laying of flooring in the last couple classrooms at the end of the hallway where we don't have students occupying. There's a little bit of a delay. The floor tiles that we wanted weren't immediately in stock, so we're waiting for those to come in. I had a choice of going with a different floor tile, and the tile that I wanted is kind of the same tile that we have at the high school and at the elementary school, so I wanted to have a consistent floor tile that we could then use across schools. We've moved over the last 2 years to having the same color paint across all the schools and all the hallways, so we can just buy like one kind of paint, and we can paint any classroom in any school, and this is the white, this is the blue, this is the whatever. So I rolled the dice, and so to get the floor tile that best matches what we're currently deploying throughout the rest of our division. And so that's part of the reason we changed the direction or the order of where we were going, because if there's a delay, I'd rather the delay occur where I don't have kids. And so if we're moving the other way, then we can move furniture and get rooms painted, tile laid, and then floors waxed, several coats, and then we can then begin moving the furniture out of the gym into those classrooms.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions?
I have a comment. Dr. Daniel, while our number one priority in the division is, fill in the blank.
Oh, student achievement.
Student achievement,
sorry.
yes. Clearly, you have devoted an inordinate amount of time to this issue, this very important issue for the health and safety of that building. I am thrilled that we are able to return that building to good health for the students and staff and the community, and to be focusing on student achievement at the same time as this major project is really a big deal. And thank you for a great presentation to get everybody up to speed on where we're at with Thomas Hunter Middle School and the abatement process, and more updates to come. But this is a huge deal, and I cannot leave the mic without spelling out to the community that it was due to Mrs. Linda Hodges' efforts that we received the money for this asbestos abatement, period, the end.
Okay, I'll, no other questions on abatement. I'll move on to attendance, 7.2, an attendance update.
Right.
All right, so for the folks who view at home or kind of go into board docs, I've kept each month, since we started tracking attendance and posting the chart, I've just added a slide to each month, so the previous months are all there. And I've tried to make the font bigger as we've gone along. More or less success. All right, so May and June is combined. So here's some really great news. Let me back up real quick. So one of the issues that we were talking about in April is that we were worried that both at the high school and our numbers seemed high compared to this time last year. And so a lot of effort and work from administration and teachers and Taryn Thomas, our school social worker, were kind of not panning out, and we were quite concerned. But when we head into May, June, our numbers, the number of students who were chronically absent have held pretty consistent. But what seemed to have really fluctuated, the difference between this year and last year, was really that last month of school and the number of absences that creeped up in that last month last year that didn't necessarily happen this year. So whether that's, and we can go back and try to speculate as to what the occurrence was. One of the things, and I'm not saying this is the reason why it's different, but it's one of the elements or one of the things that were different. I mean, obviously, we had a focus on attendance all the way through the last day of school. One of the ripple effects of us losing so much instructional time in January was that we moved some of those last days of school from half days to full days. We would have to go back and look at the attendance rates on those days and compare this year to last year, but to see if we had more students attending in those last few days than we did last year. So there are a number of things that we can look at. We can look at different ways that we coded for exam exemptions and students not being required to come to school. But regardless of it may be a combination of all those things. But we have what appears to be a pretty significant reduction in chronically absent students. I will caution that this is raw data, and how the state goes and does their algorithm and their calculations with regards to chronic absenteeism should be clear to understand, but that and ADM and how they come up with those numbers aren't always particularly clear to the folks in the localities. But I'm pretty optimistic about our continued reduction in all of our schools to be below, to just improve. So these calculations for the elementary school and the middle school would have us below the 15% threshold. If this calculation holds for the high school, I think it's like 17%, which would have us in like tier 2. But where we were 2 years ago was about 34-ish% chronically absent. So for us to reduce that number in half in 2 years is pretty significant. So I mean, it's just a lot of effort from a lot of people paying off. That's parents getting their kids to school. It's teachers making phone calls. It's administrators making decisions about schedules and student engagement, and it's teachers, teaching all the way to the last day of school and making every day relevant. So, I mean, it's just a global effort to improve that factor. And I think once we get our SOL data finalized, we've got some raw numbers, but I think the work on attendance is going to pay off in the achievement data that we're seeing with SOL performance. So,
Great.
so please, any questions on attendance?
I just have a request for next year, if we could possibly get the data by grade. As our grades more from building to building,
True.
It's hard for my brain to okay, where's that grade from last year and the year before?
Right, okay.
So if we could do that, that would be helpful for me,
Okay.
if it's not too much trouble.
And I also want to note that we will be talking about the attendance policy. We'll be talking about this issue more at the summer work session. So it's a focus area for us, but definitely, again, moving in the right direction. Very good sign.
Okay, no other questions on attendance. Item 7.3, some school board information. So within board docs, you have the school-based financial reports. For each school, you have the overall expenditure report, which looks like we're in pretty good shape for that. The Gifted Local Advisory Committee, their annual report. We also have, for your information, the kind of memo regarding the division literacy plan. And you also have, for your information, it doesn't need approval, but just for your information, the division literacy plan. Just also so you're aware, each division's literacy plan gets posted on the Department of Education's website. So that is available for any citizen in any locality, anywhere, to kind of go in and look and compare literacy plans. I'll be honest, we've taken a peek at other school divisions to kind of compare notes. I think ours is a very solid, smart, appropriate plan for where we are right now. So I'm proud of the work Ms. Hunley has put in to develop the literacy plan, along with the work of our reading specialists and teachers at the elementary school and middle school. Are there any questions on any of those reports or items that I can help answer?
I have a couple comments just on the literacy plan. Was it helpful, or did you sort of try to align strategic plan with the literacy plan? Did those overlap? Was that informative?
So we had a draft of the literacy plan in existence already. So to be honest, I think the literacy plan helped to inform parts of the strategic plan. And part of, as we've then developed that strategic plan, we're also working on MTSS and multi-tiered systems of support. And so the strategic plan goals and benchmark numbers are being baked into our goals and vision for MTSS. So as we talk about, this is what we want our literacy pass rate to be, our mathematics pass rate to be, that is being baked into that MTSS process. But a lot of the strategies that are baked into the literacy plan were kind of known and were put into the strategic plan.
And then just a shout out, as I've already expressed a couple of occasions, but for the kindergarten camp that happened in May. Mrs. Bray put on a fabulous kindergarten camp, as well as the teachers and the specialists. The focus of that for the parents was to be informed on the VALS assessment tool. And if you've ever left a child off for kindergarten and you're going to a kindergarten orientation as a parent, I was never oriented to any kind of assessment tool at that event, at a kindergarten camp. So hats off, great job informing parents of the expectations, but also equipping them to have foreknowledge of the VALS process. And I think year 2 with VALS is going to go smoothly. And it was just a wonderful experience.
I would just add, anyone at home or if, anyone in our audience, if you have kindergarten age students and you have not registered those students yet, please come and register your kindergartner so we can make that first day of school transition as smooth as possible. The elementary school office right now is kind of closed because, yes, we're doing some work at the elementary school too, getting some HVAC and some piping work done there. So the elementary school office is located here at the high school for probably another week and a half-ish. We'll make it, you're right. So we'll call it 2 weeks. But please, get your kindergartner registered as soon as possible.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Daniel. Moving on to item 8 with school board informational reports. Item 8.1, just a reminder, we have our first school board summer work session Wednesday, June 25th, 8 to 3 at the Chesapeake Bank Community Room. That's the summer work session number 1. Then at item 8.2, we'll have the end of year special meeting Monday, June 30th, 2025 at 9 a.m. in this very room, Mathews High School Media Center. Item 8.3, we have our summer work session part 2, which will be on Thursday, July 17th, 2025, 8 to 3 in the Chesapeake Bank Community Room. Item 8.4, you can open up and see conferences and webinars, past and future. Check your dates to make sure that you are in compliance with any of your webinars that you need to take, your classes, workshops you need to take. And finally, item 8.5, board and committee reports by school board members and superintendent. Does anyone have anything to add on this one in terms of their board membership? I do want to, again, I mentioned last month that the Heretta board position or the participation position may have to be relinquished on my part. So please be considering for the new year if another member would be interested in taking over that position. Again, HRETA is the Hampton Roads Educational Telecommunications Association, and they oversee the WHRO. And you can attend virtually, and it's once a quarter, once a quarter, I think. Again, we have all of our Board of Supervisors meetings covered. The June meeting, which is tomorrow night, due to the holiday on Thursday. The Board of Supervisors meeting is tomorrow night. Mr. Dobson will be in attendance there with Ms. Diggs to follow on the July 17th. Long day for you, Ms. Diggs, on July 17th. Sorry about that. Okay. Moving on to, if there are no questions, comments, Mrs. Hutchins?
Is there an announcement around Clio? In your participation in that?
Well, regarding the move up,
Yes,
okay,
move up
well,
of the food chain.
yes. As a member of Clio, which is local elected officials affiliated with the Workforce Development Board, I didn't know that when you were gracious and volunteered to be a member at large, to be the at-large, that you were on a necessarily increasing ranking. You were going up. So now I'm the vice chair. Just suffice it to say, I'm now the vice chair of this. Oh, thank you. Yes, just very coy. That's me. That's my middle name. So anyway, just did not know until the actual moment when they were describing this. Right before it happened. So, yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Moving on to action items, item 9. We have 3 action items tonight. Our first one is 9.1, approval of the VSBA policy updates for February 2025 and May 2025. We have, as you can see, if mine will open. It's so slow. There we go. Okay. We have many policies that are up for approval, to be approved as listed. Just a reminder that several policies from the proposed or recommended policies were pulled out, having optional features to them, either in whole or part, and those will be discussed at a later meeting, discussed and voted on at a later meeting. These all were presented last month for review and are up for approval this month. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we approve these policies as listed.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Any discussion?
I just have a question on one of them. It would be, I think it's CHD, what, at the top line? It talks about in between meetings, that the superintendent has the power to act, but then informs us at the next meeting if something comes up. I just was wondering if that has ever occurred. Has something ever come up in that where an action needed to be taken by the school division in between meetings? I'm just trying to understand the policy better, and I'd do better if I understand a situation where it may have occurred.
I'm trying to think of a situation where that may happen. The only scenario that I can hypothesize would be if it's approaching the opening of school, there's a vacant position and needing to hire a teacher prior to board's action. I mean, my practice has been making a phone call and like, hey, this is what I need to do, or this is a quality candidate to bring on board. But that's probably the best scenario I can think of in the absence of some fictitious emergency
So it's
that I
more
just need.
surrounding personnel, probably.
I would think
Okay,
so, yes.
all right, thank you.
Good question. Any further discussion? All right, there being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 9.2, the naming of the 2025 VSBA Annual Convention official delegate and alternate delegate.
I make a motion to name the official delegate and alternate delegate to the 2025 VSBA Annual Convention as listed.
Thank you, Mrs. Hodges. Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Well, I suppose we need to name someone.
Right, we're gonna need to, the letter attached requests a delegate and an alternate delegate, as we've done in the past. If no name is submitted, the chair and the vice chair will be listed as delegate and alternate. It is recommended that the delegate or alternate not be a member of the VSBA Board of Directors. Yes. Let's see, I've been a delegate.
I've been a delegate. We don't want to monopolize this.
Wouldn't want to do that.
Why am I being stared at?
Would not do that.
Quite the showdown.
Are you asking for a volunteer?
You said it.
Did I volunteer, Mayor Catherine?
Oh, thank you, dear.
VSABA.
Now this,
Rather be shot.
If you are unsure at this time, Ms. Morgan, do we have any leeway in assigning? Ms. Morgan, do you,
Looking at it,
thank you.
we can try again next month.
I'll
Let's-
do it,
Can we add it to
Dr.
the work
Gibbs.
session? and-
I'll do it if you'd like. I'll be.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Mr. Morgan, thank you for being delegate. And alternate?
There is a way to help him, Mr.
I'll be
Morgan.
I'll be an alternate.
Thank you, Ms. Diggs.
What is the date of this?
It'd be the weekend,
November.
usually it's the weekend before Thanksgiving. You know, oh,
I'm not here then.
Okay.
not weekend, but that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
I'm leaving on my trip.
Ms. Morgan, we're going to split the baby. We're going to assign Mr. Morgan as delegate, and we will come back to alternate next month. Thank you.
I would if I were gonna be here, sorry.
Next year.
Moving on to item 9.3, the approval of the VSBA Policy Services Agreement for 2025-2026. May I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the Virginia School Boards Association Policy Services Agreement for 2025-2026 as written.
Thank you, Mrs. Hodges. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Discussion.
I have a question. Do you have at your fingertips the cost of that?
Yes, it's in the letter. It's contained within the letter that was addressed to Dr. Daniel, the superintendent of the school division. Keep in mind, the acronym stands for Virginia School Board Association. The fee of $2,100 is due on or before June 30th, when our current contract will expire. And that was sent to us by Gina Patterson, the executive director.
What is the other school boards association price?
The policy price, the policy services price alone for the school board member association, I believe is what you're referring to, Mr. Dobson, is $2,900.
So it's more.
It is more. However, I would just like to inform the board that in FY '24, our division spent $9,557 with VSBA. This year, so far, and the year is not finished, and this contract is not paid, we're at $11,821. So on average, if you just wanted to take an average, Membership in VSBA is costing about $10,000 a year. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money for what we get, yes.
Well, but right now, we're focused on just this piece. I think, for me, I think that's worthy of a conversation, maybe
Yes.
at one of our work sessions, to look at the cost of the other association. But for this, I know we have discussed looking at what the Alliance publishes as far as the contract, but I've not, not the contract, excuse me, the actual policies. But I've not, I don't think I've seen anything to be able to compare and contrast to see what the differences are. So I would be thinking for at least one more year, let's do this, and over the next year, if we can get something, I'd like to see the differences. I know we've talked about, my understanding is the Alliance is let me say it differently. The VSBA in some policies have taken some liberties in broadening, that's just my words, where the Alliance is very pure as to what the legislation says. But I would like to see some of those differences as we move forward over the next year. That's just one person's thought.
Well, I can give you one difference. In the legislative positions of the Virginia School Boards Association, published in January 2025, item 4.23, expansion of the Virginia Human Rights Act. They're a lobbyist group. VSBA is a lobbying group. SBMA is not. They do not lobby. The VSBA requests the expansion of classifications contained in the Virginia Human Rights Act Code of Virginia 2.2-3900 and 2.2-3901 to include sexual orientation and gender identity, and to further amend the Code of Virginia 2.22.1-78 to allow local school boards to similarly expand the protected classifications contained in local school board policies and regulations. So that would be one difference that I would be concerned about, that they lobby for.
I got a question then.
Yes, Mr. Dobson?
Since we're not sure where we get our bang for the bucks, during one of the summer workshops, I think we need to address this and then decide which one we're gonna hire.
Can you repeat that, please?
I said, I think we should look at the differences, see where we get the bang for the bucks, and go with that and vote on which one we want off that information during the summer, one of the summer recess days.
Thank you for that input. I will remind you also that we have been speaking of this at the two past prior work sessions and considering policy services from another source. We have been talking about this for about 2 years, but we can keep talking about it.
Well, I don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about it and then pick a vote.
Okay, but right now, as Mrs. Hodges said, we're voting on only one element of VSBA, which is policy services. There is a motion and a second,
I ain't voting on anything.
and we are bound to take a vote.
I ain't, okay.
Further discussion?
Can I make a clarification?
Yes, please.
Those total amounts that you stated, the 9,000 and the 11, they include conferences
Yes,
and not just the membership and policy services. Policy services
correct,
are 21 and membership is 21.
correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So that would mean we're benefiting by going to the conferences, by getting information.
That's the
Okay, so.
Right, which is not the only place to get information.
No, it's not, no, I understand that. But I think, again, I'm veering away from what the motion is on the floor. But back to Mr. Dobson's point, it seems, I would like to have more information, what policies cost, how much is spent in attending conferences where you're getting information, and how much is spent on being a member, and if there's other costs associated. I've not ever seen kind of a breakdown of the costs, and then compare it also with what the Alliance has as far as the similar.
Right, and all of that information is at Ms. Lau's fingertips, and she's shared it at my request, and it's all easily accessible through her, and that is very fair, and I think we should do it, but I think we should be very interested in knowing what is best for our school division. The VSBA holds the majority of school boards in the state. One size does not fit all, and I believe that we can do just as good a job at policy, either with assistance or frankly without. And I am concerned about some of the motivations behind VSBA and the policy recommendations that they may make because of those advocacy concerns that they purport. So, and you know me, I've been talking about this. I have been speaking on this topic. So I think we'll take the vote at this point, with all that being said.
Just for clarification,
Okay.
our contract with them or service agreement with them expires on June 30th, correct? So we
Yeah.
have roughly 2 weeks or so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's take a roll call vote.
Mr. Dowsett,
No.
Mr. Morgan,
No.
Ms. Higgs,
Yes.
Ms. Hodges,
Yes.
Dr. Gibbs.
No. The motion does not pass. Item 10, citizens' comments on items discussed during the meeting. School board comments. Oh, citizens' comments.
Yeah, citizens' comments, yes.
Citizens' comments, not ours. I always get that mixed up. We have citizens who'd like to approach the podium. Please state your name and address.
So I'm Amy Bohannon Stewart, 11150 Buckley Hall Road, Mathews, Virginia. So I wasn't really planning on speaking tonight, but I was listening to the attendance update, and my mind went to something I brought up, I don't know if it was a year ago or 2 years ago, when we were talking about attendance. I worked at Mathews for a long time, 21 years. I was an 8th grade science teacher. And we used to have a policy. It was a school board policy that helped with attendance. And basically, and I don't remember the exact wording of it, I'll look it up perhaps and send it to you guys. But there were 3 ways to be exempt from exams, and exams were given starting in 8th grade. Okay? Ms. Hodges was probably on the school board when this was a policy, I'm guessing. So the 3 ways that you could be exempt, if my memory serves me correctly, to be exempt from an exam starting in 8th grade was an A in the class, passing the SOL test, if there was an SOL test associated with that particular class, or 3 or fewer absences for that class. And I believe 3 tardies for that class counted as an absence. Now, part of the passing the SOL test, I used to be able to, and this is part of the policy too, I believe, put in a grade of 97 in for their final exam in my 8th grade science class if they just passed the SOL test. And I believe I was allowed to put a 100 exam grade in if they had a perfect score. And I remember back when I first started teaching, it was like, well, how many perfect scores were we gonna get? Often pass rates were in the 90s, and we were, it was, sometimes we'd have like 6 kids that got a perfect score. So I really don't remember attendance being a problem back then when we had that policy. Now, I don't understand why we got rid of it. Maybe part of it needed to be adjusted because where I taught this past year, I wanted to find a way to get them to buy into it. And I was used to giving a final exam, and I wasn't allowed to give one in New Kent. And if I did, you couldn't give a reward for like a grade for passing their SOL test. I think that came from the state. But I'm sure that we could get pieces of that old policy in to help with attendance. I mean, the first step in success is showing up. And I don't remember attendance being a big problem. Maybe it was for very few kids, but I seem to remember attendance being pretty good back then. So anyway, I just thought it's time to bring that up again. So please consider that. And I'll try to, I probably have my old agendas. I may even have an old piece of paper with it printed out on it. And if I can find that in the next couple of weeks, I'll send it to you guys.
Thanks, Ms. Bohannon-Stewart. Is there anyone else who'd like to approach the podium? Right, there be none, we will move on to item 10.1 then with school board comments. Ms. Diggs?
Yes, ma'am.
Push it.
I guess that's
There.
Okay. Even though Mrs. O'Neill has gone home, I just wanted to say how much we all appreciate her work for the students, for the coaches, and for the whole program at the high school. She's done a great job. Ms. Lockby, I wanted to thank you tonight for your good presentation. When I was subbing some years ago, I can remember the kids with the IEPs, and tonight you did a great job in my mind of explaining things well. And thank you for all that you have done for the state of Virginia and for Mathews. Appreciate it. And Ms. Bohannon-Stewart, if you can find that on that policy, that'd be super too. We'll do anything to get the attendance, make it better. Thank you all, and thank you folks for attending tonight.
Thanks, Ms. Diggs. Mrs. Hodges?
Yes, again, as with my colleague, Ms. Diggs said, thank you, Ms. Bohannon-Stewart, for bringing that up. It seems to me, my recollection is, and I hope you find that policy, and I was not on the school board then, I was working at the high school, is that Mr. Malechik brought that policy with him when he came, and it worked very effectively. And then it seems to me there weren't the final exams or the SOL, something shifted, and so it really was applicable for only a handful of students. And I'm not sure all the pieces that shifted, but I think if we have some incentives, as that policy did, and like you said, it worked very effectively for several years. If we could do something like that, that would be a win-win for everybody. Excuse me?
2 out of those 3 could apply to any class. Attendance and then the A in the class,
Mr. Dobson?
Since I wasn't here last month and we lost our student representative, I would like to praise some accolades to Suki Zane. She was the first student representative that I had on this board when I served that brought some good things attention to the board. And that was when we had problems with the boiler and everything. We weren't taking our personnel going to other schools, to the other schools, because we said there would be no transportation. And she brought it to our attention right away, and the next day we had transportation for everybody that was going elsewhere, which I thought was appropriate. I would like to see a little bit more representative of the student representative from the kids in the school to the school board. I personally believe that they should have some type of input, not just reading off a script of what was going on. I think that might be a little better, give a little bit more incentive to people maybe wanting to sit on that position. but I thought she served very well. Would also like to thank everybody that played sports this year. It looked like we did rather well. And I'm hoping this might help us with the football team this year. We had a lot of people play a lot of different things this year, and a lot of people spread out over everything. And that's what school's about. We have all these extra activities for our students to join and have a good time at. And I'm glad to see that we do that, and we should never, ever forget that. Not all students are athletes, all of them are not the smart ones and this, that, and the other. Everybody has a capability of doing something, and there should be an extra activity to provide for that person. And then there's extra activities that can be utilized through the school system. One of them I can think of right now is the video part of Mr. Appleby's course, because we've asked them for the US 250 to come up there and film the Battle of Cricket Hill when it's performed next year on reenactors, which would be a very good thing to have, and we can show it at different times. The Mathews Museum can show that on a regular basis, and then they're going to do Cricket on a Hill, which is a play that's also about the battle, and that's more of a comic thing. And I believe the kids will perform that one, and we're going to film that and have that on hand to show through the years. But there's a lot of things that the school gets involved with that can also go out. We're working on the tiny house, which I think is an exceptionally good item. If we can continue to find these things to keep our children learning at a better rate than what they are now, I'm all for it. I know we don't have the money to do a lot of things, but there's things we can do that aren't going to take large consumptions of money. I mean, we got the carpenter class, so we're building stuff anyway. Now we're just redirecting where we're building it. And I'd like to see some more classes like that, especially in the CTE area, which I think we're heading. And, you know, not everybody goes to college. Think of what it goes to college today, what it costs. You got people out there that'll continue 10, 15 years down the road to pay on it. You go over here to Gloucester and you look at the junior ROTC program, they're teaching kids over there how to fly drones. And right now, you go to police departments and everything, to fly drones is a 6-digit figure. Now here you can have a kid coming out of high school, he's gonna have his license, because you pay $357 and they'll come in and give you the test for the license. And if you pass the license, you now have a drones license. So, I mean, there's always a way to look at things for these kids. And I don't think we should miss out on any of it if we can. That's all I have to say.
I agree. Thanks, Mr. Dobson. Kind of blended 10.1 with 11, which is school board reports. Are there any other comments from members? Anything else you'd like to add in or say? All right, moving on to item 12, other business by school board members or superintendent. 12.1, again, reiterating the school board summer session for number 1 will be June 25th from 8 to 3, the Chesapeake Bank Community Room. Our end-of-year special school board meeting will be Monday, June 30th at 9 o'clock at the Mathews High School Media Center right here. Item 12.3 is our next monthly meeting, which is Tuesday, July 15th at 6 p.m. at the Mathews High School Media Center, preceded by closed meeting at 5 p.m. And then finally, item 12.4, the summer work session part 2 is Thursday, July 17th from 8 to 3 at Chesapeake Bank Community Room. Are there any comments, Dr. Daniel?
No, ma'am.
Any other member comments? I would like to adjourn the meeting. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you for your participation, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight.